I always feel like I don't do it justice because it is such an incredible, unlikely thing that whenever I try to encapsulate it, I end up selling it short. And the reason it's important to me to not sell it short is because it was an act of pure goodness and generosity from Donald. Donald basically made my band. He basically built. He was one of the most important figures and important individuals at the beginning of anything I've gotten to do in music. So any effort I've made to try to express that has always seemed to come up short, in my opinion, and it undervalues his immense role in what I've gotten to do. Meaning, my indebtedness to him is probably greater than to anyone else in my career. And that goes for the record label, that goes for my managers, that goes for the rest of the band members, that goes even for my mom and dad. He's done more for this particular adventure than even my parents did in a way that I'm sure they wouldn't deny. I mean, they sort of turned me loose and always supported me, but Donald actually took physical action to contribute to what I've gotten to now do for, over 18 years. And how do you repay someone for that? How do you express to someone else who doesn't know the story how that came to be? And it happened in the most unlikely of ways, where I wrote a letter, basically a fan letter to Obituary. I met a guy who grew up with Donald just randomly in New York. It was a fluke, and somehow Obituary came up because I talked about them a lot. I mean, I always have. So I was just talking about records I liked, and he said, "Oh, that's crazy. I grew up with Obituary," and I couldn't believe that. That was like finding someone who had grown up with, I don't know, Benjamin Franklin or something. That's how immense Donald was to me as a figure, as a musical icon. And he then not only had grown up with him, but he had his home address, and he shared it with me. So I wrote him a letter, sent a CD of the music I was working on at the time. This was probably 1998, 1999, right when I had moved to New York, and asked if he would play in my band. I mean, it was completely an absurd thing to do, and it was so absurd that I didn't really think not to do it, because it seemed like, why not do it? There actually wasn't a lot of thought involved, because if I had thought too much about it, I would have thought myself right out of doing it. And I remember coming home from work maybe a week and a half later, and there was an answering machine message that said, "Yo, man, this is DT. I got your letter. Yeah, I'm down. Give me a call back." And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't. That was the first instance in my life where a dream had come true without any qualification, without any. It was so stark of an example of that dreams can come true, that things that seem impossible, that are not rational, that there's no common sense in why this would happen, that it actually could happen. And it seemed completely out of my power, too. It seemed like something that was happening to me that I didn't make happen. And then from there on, not only did he join the band, play on the first album, but he basically formed the band. He found the other guitar players. He found the bass player. He found our sound guy. He found our lighting guy, our monitor guy. He assembled this team that allowed this adventure to begin. And that's only, 1% of the story.